Good morning. Hi, Mohammed.
Hi, sir.
Can you turn on your camera?
Yeah, sure. Sir, I think is it visible now, right, sir?
Yes, it is visible.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Anand. I'll drop off from the call. Please take it ahead.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. Hi, Mohammed.
Hi, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Can you tell me about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Muhammad Ashiq and basically from Kerala, and so now I'm working as AWS Devops engineer. Initially I joined as AWS NOC engineer in Network Operations Center, and I was doing some kind of a troubleshooting and mostly monitoring part. So then I moved to AWS DevOps engineer. So when I have good experience in AWS when it comes to networking part, PPC, and EC2 part, Elastic Beanstalk, and like Route 53, and CloudFront, and this kind of all services I have a good experience. So when it comes to the microservice part again, like EKS, CCS, and like Docker Swarm, Docker, and Docker Compose files, Docker Stack files, and master on like this work and concept and architecture, and I have a good experience on that. So when it comes to third party tool like a Kubernetes, Docker, and I have a good experience on that. Like when it comes to this Azure part, I have a good experience on Azure, like virtual machines, Azure load balancers, Azure application gateways, Azure CDNs, and this kind of like I have good knowledge on it, sir.
Okay. So Mohammed, like totally how many years of experience you have?
So total I have a 3.1 year experience, and when it comes to DevOps, I have 1.5 year relevant experience in DevOps.
Okay.
Yes.
Fine. So you have experience. You told you have experience in AWS, right?
AWS also have experience.
Fine. Okay. Let's say I have assigned one ticket. Okay. So in the ticket, one of the developer requested for an Linux box.
Okay.
Okay. EC Linux box. So you have created and delivered to the developer. Okay. The developer, after a couple of months, he came to you and told he couldn't able to log into the server.
Okay.
So how will you troubleshoot this issue, Mohammed?
Okay, like so already you created a server, like I think the server is already created like a couple of months ago, right, sir?
Correct.
Okay, so like is there any like patching happened before, like any function happened before, like patching or any activities like?
Yeah, it might be there. Like we do have a monthly or quarterly patching, right? So
exactly,
it might be there.
So actually, so we have a lot of possible reasons. So the first thing actually we have to check like so whether the application, so whether the server is accessible or not. So we can go to command prompt, or else we can use putty application. Then we can check it out. See if the server is not accessible, so we can go to like a security group, that is like a virtual machine level firewall. We can check it out over there whether our port number is enabled or not. Or else we can go to based on NACL, we can go there. Or else we can directly go to firewall. So definitely we'll have a firewall in your company. So we have to check so whether actually this IP address, developer IP address is allowed or not. Maybe in some situations like during this pandemic, like developers actually they're working from home. So maybe they're working from different network. Maybe they're not using VPN connection. Even they're using like VPN connection. That rule may or may not be added over there. So we have to check that. So we have to go to like EC2 machine inside. So there will be have a IP tables and root tables that we have to check whether the proper connection is allowing or not. So we have to check the firewall D or UFW. So there are also kind of firewalls like we can customize our application and inside a virtual machine. So when it comes to SSHD, that's a like one process or else one application SSHD like application. So that also we have to install on our like a virtual machine. Like if it is not status is not active, like we cannot access the virtual machine. Or else if the system is not available, like maybe in patching activity, especially the security patching, maybe the routing rule will be different, like the rule will be changed to 00, that will be changed to like some local host, like it will be changed to 127.0.0.0.1. so that also may be the problem.
So what is 127.0.0.1?
No, 127.0.0 local host in the sense from the system only we can access that. So we cannot access from any outside. So the system would not be like grant access to the system from outside. So for that actually we have to give either the particular IP address. So we have to give the subnet IP address, or else we have to give the source IP address wherever we are accessing to the virtual machine.
Okay. Fine.
Yes, sir.
So what are the characteristics of public subnet and private subnet?
Okay, public subnet definitely will be have like one route table. So route table will be have a route internal gateway. So when you come to the private subnet, so we'll be have a route table and we'll be associated with the subnet as well, but we would not be have any route to internet gateway. So that is the basic characteristics. When we creating a public and private subnet, we cannot mention this subnet is a public or this subnet is a private. But when you're creating route table, so if we're creating any route to internet gateway, then only we can mention that this subnet is a public route table or private route table. And so later, if you want to get internet to this private subnet, we can create a NAT gateway or NAT instance, then we can implement over there. And previously we were using NAT instance, and that is less available because admin has to manage everything. When it comes to a NAT gateway, actually we can do it's highly available, and directly we can go to VPC and we can we can take that, we can implement that over there.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, what are the other services do you have experience on? You have experience in API Gateway, Lambda?
Like API Gateway, I have a little bit experience. When it comes to Lambda, actually, I created a small script, like by the help of my colleagues and Stack Overflow. So that was like, so we need to find unused EBS volume. And as well as we need to take EBS snapshot. Like when it comes to, again, AWS part, actually, we have a life cycle over there. When it comes to snapshot part. So we can take snapshot every 1 hour, like we have a gap in between, 1 hour gap. So we cannot take snapshot every 1 minute or 2 minutes. That's not possible. But when it comes to Lambda, we can automate the process. Even we can take 1 minute as well. Every 1 minute we can take a snapshot we can take. And so what, for example, one user is accessing S3 bucket, and when you're creating S3 bucket as a security requirement, actually we have to enable the versioning, but the user actually is forgot to enable the versioning for the bucket. So we can create an event in our CloudWatch. So whatever the action is happening from CloudTrail, so CloudTrail basically is a service that is going to monitor all the API activity, and this CloudTrail will be invoked to CloudWatch. So CloudWatch actually we created a event. So this event will be triggered by the Lambda. So Lambda actually we created a small function over there or code over there. This code will be turn on the versioning if it is not enabled. So like that kind of activity I done it.
So in which language you written the script?
Sorry sir?
Which language you written the script?
Python sir, Python.
Python. Okay. Do you have an like how will you rate yourself in Python?
Like see, basically when I was doing the graduation, I have a concept like Python, what is a Python, and like how to create a function. I have a logic on that, if condition and for loop and switches and cases, while loop, do while loop. So that I know. Basically I went through my colleagues and as well as like a Stack Overflow, ChatGPT. So everything actually is a reference only. Then I done it.
Okay. Fine. So okay, do you know what is CloudFront?
CloudFront I know sir.
Yeah, what is functionality of CloudFront?
So CloudFront basically that is going to distribute the content all over the world. So actually consider we have a static website. So this static website basically hosted in United States, but actually we have all over the users in the sense. So this application using from all over the world. So we can distribute this content all over the world. In all region we will be have a edge location and as well as regional edge location. And this content will be propagated all over the world. Then after this user can access the content like from nearby the region. For example, when I'm accessing YouTube, actually the request is going to Bangalore only. So or else I'm located in Chennai, the request is going to Chennai only. So that is in the sense the content, actually the trending content will be stored in the edge caches. So we can reduce the latency, so that's what we're using that.
Okay, let's say I have hosted on static website in S3. Okay. And I put on top of it I'm using CloudFront. Okay. Now let's say I want to do a path-based routing. Okay. How can I achieve path-based routing with the help of CloudFront?
So when we creating a Lambda, so there itself actually we have an option so we can select the path. It seems like when we selected the bucket, we have an option over there, we can select the path. So suppose actually with the content actually we just put in a bucket, we didn't have any directly.
No, you mentioned Lambda, right? What is the use of Lambda here?
Lambda here actually I think we can trigger that, when we are accessing CloudFront, the request will be go to the Lambda. So in Lambda actually we will be have a function and this request will be triggered that we can connect, I think so. I'm not sure about that because I didn't work with it, sir.
Okay. Fine. What are the types of load balancer?
So we have a total 4 load balancer. One is application load balancer, another one is a network load balancer, and then we have a gateway load balancer. And previously we were using classic load balancer, but it's already deprecated, I think a couple of months ago. I think 6 or 7 months ago. August 15, I think so, last.
Okay, so can just tell me what is the difference between the three load balancers,
Yeah,
which
sure.
is
So yeah, when it comes to application load balancer, actually we have a lot of features like we have a path based routing, we have a string query based routing, we have a host based routing, and that basically working on like port number, HTTP and HTTPS. So whatever the request actually we getting into application load balancer, we can route the traffic into instance or IP address or lambda, or else even some scenarios like our server actually plays in on-premise. That also we can do. So we have some kind of load balancer, network load balancer, that is an internal load balancer. So whatever the request I'm getting from the application load balancer, I can route it to network load balancer as well. So the main purpose is we have an application, and the application have a different services, for example contact, and as well as like different pages that we can route into that particular according to the requirement of a client. So when it comes to network load balancer, so whenever we required like ultra performance, like low latency, we can use network load balancer. And as well as whenever we want to connect our active directory with our on-premise, we can use like a network load balancer. And as well as network load balancer, that is working TCP, UDP and TLS, that protocol it's using over there. And when it comes to application load balancer, again that is using like round robin and weighted, and as well as least connected and sticky bit, this kind of algorithm using. So network load balancer, that is using flow hash algorithm. And so when it comes to network load balancer, actually we don't have any rule. We have a listener rule. In listener rule, actually we don't have a types of rule. We have only one rule, so that we can route it to that particular application. So another scenario, so we have a VPC. In VPC actually have a 3 endpoints. One is a S3 endpoint, another one is a system manager endpoint. So only 2 endpoints. So suppose if I want to extend that endpoint to any other VPC, I can do that by using network load balancer only. I cannot use application load balancer over there. And so we cannot create multiple endpoint, or else we cannot create each endpoint in each VPC. Instead of that, we can create a hub and spoke architecture. So I'll create a VPC only for the endpoint. So then whatever the VPC I'm creating in my region or in my organization, I can extend that endpoint into that particular VPC. We can drastically reduce the cost. And when it comes to gateway load balancer, so consider we have a fleet of virtual appliances that can be Fortinet or Palo Alto or Microton application. So we have a 3 virtual appliances, and we want to distribute the load between these 3 virtual appliances. So we can use gateway load balancer, and that is using port number 6081 Geneva protocol.
Okay, fine. So do you know what is the use of target group?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Just tell me what is the use of target
group. So target group basically, so that we are usually associating with our load balancer. Like so we'll be have a fleet of instances, and we'll be have a port number. So we can, whatever the instance or whatever the application we creating, so that we can put these instances into that particular target group. And when we creating this load balancer, the load balancer will be connected to the target group, and the request will be routed to the target group. So if the condition is met, so for example, if the user is accessing port number 80, so we can specify, okay, the user should access to this particular target group. So that we can specify over there. So we can create different port number as well. But inside a target group, we cannot have a multiple port number. That will be create some potential error or conflicts.
Okay. So let's say I want to encrypt the traffic, like even though I can terminate SSL traffic in load balancer. Okay. Now I would like to the traffic would be encrypted in the till the node level. Okay. So what I can do in this kind of scenario?
Like which means like we need to add a SSL certificate over there, right, sir?
Yeah, the thing is like there might be 2 options. Okay, so I can terminate the SSL connection in the load balancer. Okay, by adding SSL certificate. Okay, but so in some cases I need like the encryption, right? The traffic should be encrypted till the node level. I should decrypt only in the instance. Okay. So in this scenario, in this situation, how will you let load balancers enter the traffic with encryption?
So we have an option over there, like we can add ASIM with our load balancer. We can go to listeners rule, then we can, so before actually we have to create a ASIM, Amazon Certificate Manager. Then we have to verify that, like we have to issue that like by using the proper DNS name. So then we can add that particular like ASIM into our target group. That we can do. Or else actually we have some kind of capability along with the load balance, like a defensive mode, stricted mode, and so if the RFC is 702 or 501, if that compliance, so I'm not sure about that actually but actually we can check that. I'm not recalling that now.
Okay, fine. Okay. Do you have any experience in Kinesis stream?
Kinesis stream, actually work with the Kinesis stream, like whenever we getting like network logs from VPC flow logs. So by using Kinesis firehose, actually I'm taking this log and then I push to ELK. So I done a project internally, not in my company.
Okay. So what you have done, like with the ELK, in the sense like you have installed ELK stack in some of the instance, or
No, actually
you
I
used
done through
OpenSearch?
AWS only. We used OpenSearch and I pushed to ELK. And I think like around 6 months ago that I did.
Okay.
First I took like network logs, and so in VPC itself, VPC flow log, actually we have a new option over there, and that option is we can push that log into directly Kinesis Firehouse. So first we have to create a Kinesis Firehouse, then we have to go to VPC, then we have to create a VPC flow log. So we have an option, we can push these logs into Kinesis Firehouse, and we can specify the time gap, for example 1 minute or 10 minutes. So I specified 1 minute, and whatever the log is generating from VPC flow log, and it will be pushed to Kinesis Firehouse. From Kinesis Firehouse, I will be routed to like ELK, OpenSearch, and that Kibana and log/that.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
Fine. So do you have any experience in Terraform, Mohammed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you share your screen? I'll give the scenario. I just want you to write a code block for me.
Okay, sure. 1 minute. Window and screen. Sir, you can see my screen, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah, open any editor or notepad, whatever you like, right?
I have ID over PyCharm ID. I will take this PyCharm ID.
Whichever your preference, like just open. Okay, the scenario is I want you to create an VPC. Okay. Within a VPC, I want to create a private subnet and public subnet. Okay. And then I wanted to create one EC2 instance and private subnet and open 22 port. Okay. Do you aware of modules concept?
I know, sir.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to use modules.
Okay, module want to introduce. Okay, fine. So then I'll create a new directory over here first. This is easy.
Muhammad, can you create VPC alone and call that module in the main root file?
Okay, that
So
also
I
I
just
can do. Okay,
yeah.
okay. So I thought I can create like different for example, for VPC one module.
Yeah, I understand, but only I just want to understand like you know the concept or not. That's it. Okay.
Then,
So just
then
any one module. I mean, just write one module and just refer that module and use it.
okay. So then I will write down this VPC module. So along with I'll just create it over here.
Yeah.
CD 10.0. So I'm just dividing this into like two subnets. One is a 25, another one is like a 25. Like. So I'm dividing this entire network into two sub network like 25. So 128, 128.
Yeah.
So like, sir, I hope it's completed. Like, if you want, we can specify the CAD range of new VPC. Like, we can specify like that. I will explain one thing, sir. So this is my VPC.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so this is my VPC child module. So here I created a network, and you can see that my VPC. In VPC, I have one virtual private cloud and have two subnets. In this virtual private cloud, I have a total 256 IP address 10.00/24. So name is my VPC. I created a variable as well. So in further, I can modify that. So I have a two subnets, subnet 1 and subnet 2, and have a two subnets CADR as well. When you come to variable, so I have a VPC name. So further, whenever I want to call this VPC, I can go to my root module, then I can make a change over there. And this is subnet name 1, subnet subnet CADR1, subnet name 2, and subnet CADR2. And so I need to specify VPC CADR as well. So VPC CADR, I will specify VPC CADR. I'll go to my root module. This is my root module. Here I will go to my VPC name. I will change it to production VPC. So same as VPC CADR, I can specify it to whatever I want. For example, 172.16.0.0/16. I'll be get total 65,536 IP address over it. In this way, actually, we can call our modules.
Okay. Fine. Yeah, you can stop sharing your screen. Yeah.
Okay.
So, may I know what is the difference between virtual machine and container?
Yeah. So basically, virtual machine that will be have a operating system, and container also will be have operating system. But container that is going to share the same operating system, but virtual machine will be have a standalone operating system. And container will be boot up in few seconds, and virtual machine will be boot up like it might be take up to 2 to 3 minutes, maybe in some time. And so virtual machine actually we using to create like hypervisors, for example Hyper-V, and we can use Zen and this kind of hypervisor. When it comes to container, so again there we can use like a Docker, Cryo, and like a Cricket, this kind of Docker container we can, like a hypervisor we can use to create a containers. And the purpose of containers, so we can host applications. So we cannot host any operating system. The main or the motive is we can host application. But when it comes to virtual machine, the motive is we can host operating system. That's it, sir. And operating system is more secure because actually we have a standalone operating system, and that is different standard between two operating system. When it comes to container, so that is software level dividing, it's happening over there.
Okay. So do you have any experience creating?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Muhammad, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, audible, please. Hello.
Am I audible, Muhammad?
Says actually the problem is I'm getting some call in my mobile phone. That's what actually in between actually the connection is going. No issue. So could you please tell me, sir?
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yes, perfectly. Hello.
Muhammad, am I audible now?
Yes, perfectly, sir. Perfectly. I'm audible.
Okay, so my question is, do you have any experience in creating Docker file?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Can you tell me like what are the instructions which presents inside the Docker file?
So we have a from like so we can specify the base image, then we can specify copy command like to copy from the local system to our container. So we can have a add. So add actually basically do the copy, but actually we can take the zip file, we can take the URL, we can take the index file, whatever it can be. So we can specify expose to expose our container port, and we can have a maintainer to to just modify the to documentation actually who maintain this, and we have a entry point, we have a CMD, and we have a user, because for example if you want to create any container with a non-root user, so we have to create a user parameters also with it, we have instructions arguments.
Okay, so can you tell me what is the difference between CMD and entry point?
Yeah, sure. Actually, entry point basically, for example, whenever we want to create a container, so when the container is creating, at that time itself it will execute inside this entry point. So CMD basically argument of entry point. For example, in entry point, I just created catlina.sh. For example, catlina.sh, if you want to run in Tomcat server, we have to execute that particular shell script. So then we can specify the CMD as the particular file. For example, run or start. So this Catalina will be run when we creating this container. So first it will run the entry point, then only it will go to the CMD. The priority is for entry point. So both are doing the same purpose only. Either we can use CMD or entry point. That also we can do.
Okay. Okay. I'll give you one scenario. Okay. Let's say I have developed one Python application which is running in a Linux EC2 instance. Okay. So now this application needs to connect to database. Okay, since I'm doing POC, I don't want to go with any managed service or managed database service. Okay. So instead of that, what I need is I just want you to deploy an MongoDB database inside a Docker container. Okay. Once you done it, I just want you to establish a connectivity between Python application and database. So how will you help me in this requirement, Muhammad?
Okay, so definitely we will be have a username and password for our MongoDB. So the Python application will be have environment variable as well. So when we creating the Python application container, so we have to specify the environment variable like so the developer has to create that. Anyway, the developer.
One thing is like I already told, like Python application is running in a Linux box.
Okay, Linux box.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Okay, Python application that is running on a Linux box, and the container actually be hosted in our container.
Correct.
Okay, so that time also we can use container, but I'm not sure about that. Even I didn't. I used like so I have an application that is hosted in a container, but I used RDS as well. But I didn't use like the Python application that is running on Linux machine, and the container in a the database in a MongoDB or like in other container platform. That I didn't. I'm not sure about that.
Okay, no issues. Fine. How good you are in Kubernetes, Mohammed?
Yes, good only like 7 or 6, like that range.
Okay. Can you tell me? Okay, just explain the architecture of Kubernetes.
Yeah, sure. So we have two types of plane over there. One is a control plane, another one is a data plane. So in control plane, we have four components. One is kube AP server. Then we have a HCD database. We have a kube scheduler. We have a kube controller. When it comes to the data plane or our worker node, so we have two components. One is a kube proxy. Another one is a kubelet. And when it comes to this kube AP server, that's the core of our Kubernetes cluster. All components will be communicate this kube AP server. And when the user is accessing to this kube AP server, so the kube AP server will be create an instruction on HCD. So basically, HCD is a database. Whatever the instruction getting from the user or whatever the instruction getting from all component, that is going to store in HCD. So consider a scenario. So the user is actually creating one pod. So basically, the request will be come from the user by using kubectl command, and it will record in a HCD database. So once it record in HCD, so the kube scheduler automatically understand, okay, one pod has been created, so I need to assign this pod in a particular node. So this will be assigned in a particular node. So we can use like different algorithms over there. For example, like node affinity and pod affinity, attained and toleration, labels and selectors, node name, that we can use over there. So when it comes to the kube schedulers again, so that is going to assign a pod in a particular node. So we have a multiple node maybe. So for database actually we will be have a particular node. For this application will be a particular node, or else so that we can specify that. When it comes to kube controller, this kube controller that is going to control our node and pod deployment, endpoint, these and all. So that will every time that will observe, then that will take action. So before it will analyze, then it will take action. So in like a loop control. So when it comes to this HCD, that's I already told, like it's a database. So again we'll come to data plane. In data plane we'll be have two components. One is a kube proxy. So kube proxy actually that is going to create a network establishment between our nodes and ports. So that's what we're using kube proxy, and that is going to maintain the route tables and all. So when it comes to kubelet, that's the captain of our node, worker node, and so this is going to manage the container runtime and container network interface and creating pod and everything, and every 5 seconds, and this will be reported to kube AP server.
Okay, fine. Can you share your screen? I'll give you one scenario. I just want you to write a deployment file, manifest file.
Sure, sir. 1 minute. Is it visible, sir?
Yes. Okay. The scenario is, let's say I have one front-end application and back-end application. Okay. This front-end application needs to connect with back-end application. Let's consider back-end application as a database, okay, which needs to write and retrieve data. Okay, and then as an end user, I want to access the application from my external browser.
Okay.
So this is the scenario.
Okay. I'll write that. 1 minute, sir. Sir, here I'm creating a pod. Should I create a pod or deployment, sir?
You have to create a deployment, right?
Okay. Actually, I'm in interview. I'll
Yeah, Mohit, this is enough. Fine. You can stop sharing. Okay. Okay. What are the different types of service, Mohammed?
So in Kubernetes we have like a total of 4 services. One is one is external name, another one is a load balancer, another one is a node port, another one is a cluster IP. And by default we'll have a cluster IP if you're not specifying anything. And cluster IP basically is the internal IP, so we can access from the local system itself. When it comes to node port, we can access from the node, like we'll have a node and we can use either private IP or public IP address, and we can specify the port number for the like a node. So we have a load balancer that is going to create a unified link. So if you're creating kubeadmin or minikube or by using kubebox like kube or Devops, so we have to use metal LB for that. And if we like creating the cluster in AWS or any other cloud platform, so by default they will create a load balancer from the cloud platform itself, LB, NLB, or like that kind of this. and we have external name. Suppose if we want to connect from any sources, external. For example, I have an application, that's a Python application only. If I want to connect a database from outside, like from RDS or else from MySQL, from Azure, so what I can do is I can create an external name, then I can just put the CNAME over there and it will be connect.
Okay, fine. So which service I should use, like whether the node port, or I mean which service is secure to use, like in case if it is a real-time application, right? If I want to open my traffic to the external world, right? So which service do you think which I can use it securely?
So usually we have to use cluster IP only. From the we will use a cluster IP. So above will be have a ingress and above will be have a load balancer. So the load balancer will be routed to ingress, and ingress will be have a based on path rule, host based rule. So the user only can access to our application from ingress. Ingress will be routed to this cluster IP. So from cluster IP, it will.
Which ingress tool, like you have any experience?
Like I have experience like Nginx ingress and as well as ALB ingress. I have experience. Not at all like, but I know the concept and how to do that all.
Okay, fine. Okay. What is the difference between label and annotation?
Okay, label actually it's a properties of our like a pod or node. Like by using this label actually we can do a lot of things. Like so whenever we want to monitor one particular pod we can use labels, and whenever we want to schedule a pod in a particular node we have to use a labels. And when it comes to annotation, I think that's a reference only. Like when we creating a I think a proxy ingress and all, so we have to specify that actually we using ALB that we using, or else we can create some reference like mail address and phone numbers, like we can do that. I'm not sure about that, but from the reference I'm telling.
Okay. What is pod affinity and node affinity?
Okay, pod affinity. So node affinity basically, suppose if you want to if you want to allocate one pod in a particular node, we have to use that. For example, I have a database pod. This pod I only want to place on a particular node. I can use node affinity. When it comes to pod affinity, I have a cluster of pod. I want to allocate this all pod in a particular node. So I want to collocate that. That time I can use pod affinity.
Okay, so how will you define it? How will you define it?
Okay, node affinity I have two parameters. One is require during scheduling and ignore during execution, and as well as prefer during scheduling and ignore during execution. So which means the first statement like require during scheduling. So when it's scheduling, so it will find the exact one. If it is not finding the exact one, it will go to the pending stage. So if we specifying prefer during scheduling and ignore during execution, so it will find the exact one, but if it is not finding, it will be placed somewhere. And when it execution happening, so suppose consider we change the labels and all, and it will keep over there, it will not change. That's what ignore in execution. And in future it may become like required in execution as well. So when we changing the labels in future, so that pod will be terminated, it will be retrieved from that particular node, and it will be reallocated in a different node, like which is compatible.
Fine. Okay, how will you shift the traffic to one node to another node? Let's say there is a pod A and there is a pod B. Okay, now I just want to train the traffic from pod A and shift the traffic to pod B. Okay. So how will you do it?
So that actually, see, when we do maintenance or like patching and all, so we have an option like kubectl drain, then we can specify the node name we can specify, and all pod will be drained from the particular node to like available nodes. Or else we can use like kubectl cordon, like a cordon also we can use, uncordon we can use, like that we can use, I think so.
Okay, fine. Okay. So do you have experience in Jenkins or any other
yes,
CI/CD tool?
Yes, sir. CI/CD, Jenkins, I know.
Okay, so according to you, what are the stages do you think which should be required in a CI/CD pipeline?
So definitely, so we should have a building stage, and so then after actually we have to check the code, like that is a very mandatory. We have to test the code, like what is the complexity, so whether there is any vulnerabilities present or not. So then after we have to like push this code into one artifactory, because when we require that code, artifact in future, so we have to take it back. So at last actually we have to deploy that into our deployment cluster, like Kubernetes or Docker or wherever it is. So that is the important stage actually we have to follow.
Okay. Do you aware of any, testing stages, any testing tools you have worked on?
No, but I know like how to do like by using JUnit and Maven itself actually they're providing some kind of static code analysis and all. So that I know like by using Maven. So we can use Selenium, we can use JUnit and this kind of code like tool we can use to do that.
Fine.
When it comes to Docker, actually in ECR actually I done by using ECR scanning. So we can use AWS CLI commands to scan that. So if the scan report is above a critical, so we can delete that image. Then we can intimate our developers, and developer will be get a mail. Again they will rectify that issue, and again they will again it will be follow the steps again. For example, it will build, then it will go to ECR again, and ECR it will scan again, and they will check the report by using the shell script. So that we can do like.
Okay. Fine. Okay. So how will you create a master slave architecture? Like, let's say if I want you to register one slave node to Jenkins master, how will you do it?
So when we creating a Jenkins that is a master, then after creating a master, if you want to distribute the load, then we can create a slave node. So we can create a node. So we have to install Java over there. Then we have to go to Jenkins again. Then there we have to click a manage Jenkins. So once we click a manage Jenkins, we'll be able to find the global credential. There we have to set up our credential, or else we can use to protect our credential by using like a Ashiq Corp Vault or AWS Secrets Manager. We can use to encrypt that. Then after we have to go to Jenkins again, go to manage Jenkins. Then we have a clouds and manage node. Click over there. Then we have to provide the node name, number of executors, and as well as the host name and the credential which we created. We have to select over there, and like we can select launch via SSH, and we can select manual trusted key that we can select, and we can just go with that. That will be work. And after we can go to the logs, and we'll be able to find the device is available online. Then we can go to the pipeline or freestyle. We can specify the node name over there. For example, if you're doing through a freestyle, so we can go to freestyle. Then we have an option restrict this node. Click over there. We can specify the node name, and whatever the build actually be creating over there, that will be created on that particular node. Or else we can go to pipeline script. There we can specify the node name instead of specifying agent any.
Okay. Fine. Do you have any experience in progressive delivery, Muhammad? Let's say, deployment strategies, I can say.
Deployment strategy, I know like, so we have a rolling update, and we have a recreate, we have a blue-green deployment, we have a canary deployment. So I know the concept and all. Like, if I'm getting any opportunity, definitely I can learn as well, no issues.
Okay, fine. Okay. So how good are in Linux, Muhammad?
Like 6 to 7. On a scale, 6 to 7 I can.
Okay. How will you find out the process which is running?
So we can use ps space minus ef or else ps minus aux. Then it will print all the process, and if you want to filter that, we can use space, then one pipeline, then grep we can use grep, then process name we can use over there.
Okay, if I want to get a report, or let's say the CPU utilization and memory utilization for a particular process for past 1 hour. So how can I get it?
Oh, that I don't know, like how to get a particular report, but basically I think like in top command itself actually we will be able to find that. We can use top command, and there we will be able to find the load average, and as well as like in 1 minute, 5 minute and 15 minutes, that we can find it out over there.
Okay, fine. Okay, tell me some 20 Linux commands, Mohammed.
Linux commands.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a ls command, we have a cp command, we have grep command, scd command, awk command to cutting and all, and then we have rm command, we have a mysql commands, like a lot of command actually I'm not remembering. We have ls minus ld, we have a chmod, we have a ch on command, we have a setfacl, getfacl. So we have chmod space, like we can do the permission all over there by using that. So we have unlink command, we have rmdir, and we have scp commands to copy from one system to another system. We have rsync command, we have a pscp command, like that kind of. I'm not remembering all command, but I'm getting scenario. Maybe I'm able to answer for the question.
Yeah, fine, Mohammed. I'm done with the interview.
Okay.
So, currently in which company you're working?
6D Technologies, sir.
Okay. What's your package?
Package 7.5 as of now.
What's your expectation?
Already I got a 2 offer. One is a Gurgaon one, so that's a 12. So I'm expecting the same. So if I'm getting any opportunity,
okay.
Yes.
Fine, Mohammed. Thank you for your time. Do you have any queries for me?
No, sir. Like, if you don't mind, could you please write my interview? Like, so where I should improve my skills and all.
Yeah, I'll give you the feedback. Okay, so HR will share those things.
Okay,
right?
okay, sir. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for your time. Take care. Bye. All the best for your career.
Thank you.